working on some stuff. So that's it. So what I wanted to do was just give you a bit of an update, tell you where we are, because we're actually moving on actually in a little bit now. So I was going to give you an update, and thanks to Jackson for filling in that form. You know, just a reminder that Martin and Mark haven't filled in the form for Charlie, just to spreadsheet, just a little gentle reminder there, boys.
Yeah, no.
Okay,
I have looked at it and given it some thought, to be honest. But
there you go. Look at that. That's a perfect answer, Mark. Okay.
I'm not sure where our Mark is this morning. Actually, he thought we had a review call yesterday afternoon, so I'm sure he's meant to be here.
Well, if he joins us, Jackson, that's fine. We'll just sort of carry on. So I wanted to give you a couple of updates for some stuff I've been doing with some conversations I've got going. So the first one was with Fergus Harradon. So if you don't know who he is the head of construction, effectively, in the UK. He's now the director of, or the head. He's a civil servant, but he works for BEIS, BEIS, and he's the man who's the architect in simple terms for the construction playbook. So I know him quite well. So I have a couple of chats with him because it's obviously construction playbook is quite important to what Pagabo does and what our industry does. And a couple of interesting points of coming from that is they are really keen for our industry to undergo the revolution that the retail industry went through about 30 years ago. So, and when I mean that, not just e-commerce, I don't think you're going to be buying buildings using, you know, Amazon or anything like that. But what he means is supply chains, you know, more openness, more technology, more inclusion, more SMEs, and all that sort of stuff. So he's big on that. And he says, from a technology perspective, they are interested in anything that improves performance, efficiency, health and well-being, SME engagement, and quality. That's what he said. That's their big mantra. And he's going to come and see me in May, because that's when he's allowed out. The government have said internally they won't be allowed to go and see people till May. So that's probably the way the civil service is working. So that's what he's sort of saying. I've also been doing some work on in cladding. You're obviously aware of the £3.5 billion fund that has come through from cladding. So the people who are looking after that remediation fund are Faithful and Gould. So Terry Stocks, who's he's a good colleague of mine in that sense. He used to run the MOJ. He was head of estates for MOJ actually. He used to run it. He's now sort of head of that team, and they've got 40 to 60 people in at MHCLJ at the moment working on this whole cladding thing. So that's how. And it's 3.5 billion, and just to give you an idea, that 3.5 billion will only fix 1,500 flats, 1,500 blocks of flats. That is, should I say? So it's £2.5 million each is the budget, and then there's another 80,000 to 90,000 potential buildings above 11 meters. So when you add that up, they reckon there might be another requirement for £80 billion in cladding. And with that comes skills, different ways of doing things, and all that. So I've also been introduced to a fellow called Peter Launer. He is the chairman of the CITB. So I had a good call with him last night. He's a real nice guy. He's been around. He used to run the Education Skills Funding Agency. I've got another meeting with him on Thursday because we ran out of time. But competency, skills, health and safety, really big. So there's a discussion there to have, talking about how maybe the sort of stuff we're talking about with eyesight. Morning, Mark.
Morning.
Good liaison. I'm just giving a bit of an update on a couple of things I've been doing, Mark.
Cool.
So there's a bit on that. So there might be an opportunity to work with CSCS. So that's now happening quite now. So what we're doing is really on it's on the government's agenda, it's on our agenda, it's on the industry's agenda. And just to give you an idea of how slow CITB are and the industry is, they developed a cladding qualification in February 2018, February 18, which is 6 hours over 5 days. That's 30 hours. There's a qualification all written out, and it hasn't yet been approved. That's 3 years ago.
Can I just ask, Jared, on that? It's not a facetious question, but on you talk about those people, the 60 people they've got doing the cladding. what are they doing? Are they auditing buildings? Are they planning?
Yeah, they're auditing, they're doing condition asset surveys, they're coming up with plans, program management. Basically, that's 60 people just looking at the organisation of how they're going to react and spend the 3.5 billion. That's what F&G are doing. So F&G are the lead consultant in MHCLG. But the bit that I was shocked at is somebody drafted out a qualification with Build UK, with the cladding industry, and with CITB 3 years ago this month, and it has still not been approved. I mean, that is fucking shocking, in my opinion. That is absolutely shocking. So now, I think when you start to dig a bit deeper, when you start to look at Construction Leadership Council, Build UK, all these, there's far too many bodies around, you know. And I think, you know, in retail you don't have that, do you? In retail, Amazon just get on with it, and then other companies get on with it. Yeah, they have to follow the rules and the law and what have you. I get all that, but there isn't a load of industry bodies in the middle stopping people doing stuff. So anyway, the point is, and you know, and I spoke to Fergus about this, and he's sort of saying, look, if people start getting a wriggle on, you know, the government will follow what people are doing. So anyway, so I've got a conversation. I've got the lady at. I'll say what she said right in her email to Terry, because she wants to speak to Terry and me. What she actually said in the email was blah blah blah. So this is the end of her email. There's a lot of groundwork for this has already been done, but it just needs someone to take the lead on it with some clear actions for how we get it all implemented. I'm thinking, fuck me, that's 3 years in the making. That's longer than the new James Bond film. You know what I mean? It's crackers, isn't it? Anyway, so there's quite a lot of context going on that. So that's fine. So that's that bit. The other update is we at Pagabo, we've now taken on a head of engineering, or a CTO, Chief Technology Officer, a gentleman called John Martin. He's joined the company. John Connolly has met him. He knows him. Well, he didn't really know him until he'd met. But long story short, his track record is working with other companies, high growth companies that work in technology. And he worked for a company that was a high growth company in Hull, and they developed. And he was the person who organised all of the apps and the technologies for that. He joined us about 3 weeks ago. 4 weeks ago. So, and we've got some quite ambitious plans with him actually, and he's already organising our team of people. So we're now working on what we call fast prototyping. So we're now looking at when we come up with ideas, i.e. eyesight, instead of spending a load of money on developing the apps and trying to do screenshots ourselves, we've now implemented a fast prototyping team. Basically, it's reorganised what we do internally. And we've now got somebody who's going to specialise, or the team is going to specialise in UX. What that means is we are already working on the designs for what an eyesight technology could look like. So in a couple of weeks, we'll have, so we don't have to spend any money with developers. We can do it all internally. It just comes out, you know, it's just part and parcel of what we do. So we've had a session on this with John's input. And we're sort of looking at revolutionising maybe the way we do it, because there was always this issue about how much the hardware might cost. So we've done some work, and there's a meeting this afternoon where Charlie and the team are going to review the work done. But in about 3 weeks' time, we'll be able to we'll have a session with you guys to show you the customer journey and actually look at software. You know, it's not actual software, but pretend software. So it'll be done in this what's called fast prototyping. But we're now looking at taking everything we did. Jackson and Mark M from ISG filled in their spreadsheet, and they're focusing on enrolment, induction, health and safety, time and attendance, qualification competency, environmental, which is good, and quality management. Now all of those tick the construction playbooks box now. Absolutely all of those tick that box. And what Charlie and John Connolly and John Martin, the team, are working on is this eyesight technology, which will be an approach using an app, but also a companion website. So we now actually have an app. So imagine something that looks a bit like Apple Wallet, using that sort of idea addressing all of the things that we've talked about: enrolment, health and safety, etc., but using the sort of idea around boarding pass type approach, boarding pass technologies, and then a companion website to give us all of the things that we wanted at the other side of it. What that then means is it means we can still develop a hardware solution, but the hardware will become less relevant to us, so it becomes cheaper and faster to deploy a solution. Okay, so in terms of the hardware, so the idea would be, if you're on site and you've got one of these, or you've got one of these, you know, you've got things or Fitbit, whatever you've already got with the technology on, we will link into that. But if you haven't, you'll be able to look at a piece of hardware. What that could also do, from when you start to expand your thinking, is it allows other hardware vendors to come to the market. So people might come up with a trendy piece of hardware to do a job and this sort of stuff. So it allows us to probably deploy an ecosystem much more quickly. So that's the way we're sort of thinking about it now. It will open up the market and we'll do that. So we're still going to develop the hardware solution. So that's happening now. But we think this is a more interesting sort of way to actually do it now. That's probably my update. Any questions? Does that tick the box for everybody?
I think so.
Martin, see, Martin must be filling in that spreadsheet. Yeah, is that what you do, Martin? Just getting ahead of the game.
Yeah, I am, obviously. You'll have it by the end of the week.
Yeah.
I like to let Mark get in first.
Yeah.
Makes him feel good.
Martin, I'll send you mine. You can use mine if you want.
Yeah, but I just, so look, that was a bit of a summary there. CITB, construction playbook, and where we are. So I just wanted to take some comments really, and any questions.
I think it sounds better that we're more focused around that ecosystem,
Yeah.
and interfacing with other bits of hardware than becoming just trying to develop a piece of hardware that will be in competition with everything else.
Correct. And
Right.
I'm going to show you a diagram. Don't jump down my throat at the moment because it's not finished. It's very, very draft. So I'm just showing you this. This is something I'm working on at the moment. So can you see that?
Yep.
So this is my Pagabo solution in the middle. So we've got Pagabo Contract Manager, something called Future Labs, Social Value, and then around it is the future construction stuff. So so this will all, so eyesight could be that. So the idea is we build this ecosystem, and then the light blue stuff is the rest of the world. So that is in effect everybody else's technology, which we can link into, and that sort of side. So that is now, I think, this is now becoming a more stable proposition. I've got a little bit more work to do on this. It's obviously not finished, but this is the sort of thing that construction. So the idea is we want to try and align all of the stuff we do, and the industry should be aligning themselves to construction playbook. If we do that, then everybody is doing the heavy lifting for the government and for each other. And I think that's where we're trying to do that.
Joe, can you circulate that to the group?
Yeah, I can do. I'll send that out. I'll send it out as a draft. It'll be finished in a few days. But so if you're happy to wait for a couple of days, just let me finish it. But I'm happy to circulate that. It will be part of a document we call Building Our Future. So you'll see it all in that. But that's exactly where I'm going with it.
With all this, Charlie, I mean, this is, I mean, Martin will probably remember about 10 years ago at, well, it was UKCG at the time, you know, we talked about having this shared sort of enrolment type system and everything. Where do they see the future of CSCS going then?
So I've still got to have that conversation with Peter, but people we have at ProQual. So Jan at ProQual who's worked on these qualifications we've done called the Future Construction Qualifications. She's been approached by some fairly big players. Okay, I mean, you know, fairly big, you know, Hinkley Point and that sort of stuff, saying, look, we're pretty pissed off with this CSCS card. It's expensive. There's a lot of fraud. You know, all of the stuff that you know, the rhetoric. Build UK are still trying to hold the job together, I think, because they're sort of saying, oh, well, we need to have this, we need to have this. I think if the industry breaks ranks, Mark, then there's a fair chance we'll get some momentum. So what Jan is proposed to us, and JC, John Connolly on this call is aware of this as well. She's come up with a competency-based solution. So it isn't So there'd be less ability for fraud, and instead of just saying I've done an exam to say I can dig a hole, it's a picture of me digging a hole. So it's got that whole competency piece. So she's sort of proposing that. We're taking that to the MHCLJ because the MHCLG are particularly interested in this for the cladding, you see. So that's why I'm trying to link if we can get a competency type passport in for cladding, then there's a fair chance it becomes a bit of a Trojan horse in the sector. And that's really what we want
Have you
to do.
seen the IPAF EPAL card? So rather than having the card, as we've all got the CSCS card or the IPAF card, they're introducing what they call the EPAL card. So the operator can update his competency and record everything on there, and it's a point to go to for updates, alerts, and things like that. So it looks pretty good as that. To be honest,
Is that the CSCS development?
No, this is IPAF, the Platform Access Forum Industry.
Oh, right, I haven't
they're
seen that actually. Let me just make a note of that, and that's probably worth us looking at because, again, with our approach, Mark, I don't think we want to try and own or control everything. We just want to we want to build an ecosystem and allow people to come in and innovate, because we can't innovate everything, can we? So let's make a note of that, Charlie, and have a look at it. So it's called IPAF.
Yeah, IPAF. I've got it already. Yeah.
EPAL, their new EPAL card.
Yeah.
That is the sort of thing we need to be looking at, Mark.
I've already got them talking to our my pre-enrollment people to see where we can link that sort of thing in to avoid any duplication.
So I have a call every 2 weeks with Martin Ward.
Yeah.
At your spot, because we're talking about. I mean, I don't know if he's told you, but we're talking about the enrolment because Yeah,
I've seen some emails to and fro. Yeah.
So yeah. So I think stuff like that. So having this open ecosystem is probably the better approach. So for us, if what we want to do is try and build a software stroke hardware approach which can give us everything we need. I'm still keen to have this accident stroke near miss stroke environmental what's going on book for everybody. So if the industry has one, I just think it must be good for us. So the other person who I'm going to speak to is the HSE have just appointed somebody for the construction. I don't know if you've seen that.
Yeah.
And Bob Kerslake knows him, so I'm going to try and get an intro. Bob's our chairman. I'm going to try and get an intro to him because I do think having HSE would help unlock things as well. I don't know how important the CLC is, and I think they think they're very important, but I don't know whether we think they are. I mean, the importance for me are the contractors, the main people, you guys, possibly CITB, the HSE and government. I think sometimes if we're talk to too many people, we get too many opinions. I don't know how people feel about that. Anybody got a view on that?
You're right. Yeah, too many cooks do spoil the broth, don't they? So,
I mean, I've attended many a Build UK meeting where it just they're supposed to sort of support everything that CLC requests. Hence the CSCS. CLC insists that everyone will have CSCS. Build UK support that, but we're talking about stuff that's 30 odd year old now, and we've moved on, and we want to make the whole process for everybody in the industry far easier and quicker, rather than just having all these hurdles that they need to go through. And what you've been talking about with Martin and things like that is we've got to accept that we're all doing the same thing, and we're all trying to achieve the same thing, but doing it differently.
So if we could get so let's say we get, it looks like it'd be we think we've got a direction on this eyesight. We might have to change the name apparently, because there is a product called eyesight, which the surveying on site apparently. So we might anyway, but we'll let the brand people deal with that bit. But once we've got this, if we can link this into all the things that ISG said, enrollments, health and safety, time and if we can get that, it would be great if, you know, ISG, Morgan Sindall, Wilmots, if you three as a starting point, and obviously Yonder would come with ISG, one would hope. If you guys, when we're ready, could get behind something like that, I think that's what we need from an influential perspective against Build UK. You know, if the industry takes these things on board and it proves it works and it helps and improves and delivers everything, then we don't really need the likes of Build UK, do we?
It's 33%, Gerard. If you get 30%, 33% of the main players on the market, that's the tipping point when things start to happen. Okay,
so that's the so basically when you're one in three companies to say, yeah, this is a good idea.
Yeah, I think that's experience has told me that over the years. There's something that needs to be pushed through within the industry. Once you get to that point, that's the tipping point where it starts to happen.
That's a good target to have then. I mean, so I think when you look at that on our frameworks alone, Mark, we've probably got over a third of the main players on our frameworks. So we've certainly got the access to people in that sense. Obviously, we have to ensure that what we develop is good and value for money and all that sort of stuff. But okay, 1 in 3. Okay. So if we can do that, what you're saying is then we can effectively create the market for us.
Correct.
Okay.
I don't know if anyone else on the call disagrees with that.
From a Build UK point of view, Morgan Sindall stepped out at the end of last year. So we watch and take the bits that we're interested in, because we got fed up with the politics of trying to play what they wanted us to do. So we're out of it now anyway. So from that point, as I said, we just take the bits with pride that we want and leave all the other stuff that's not of no interest to me. Which I think we did anyway, even when we were members, to be honest. So for now, I just don't get criticised for not achieving the standards.
and that doesn't interfere with your business.
Yeah, good on you, Martin.
And that doesn't change you. That doesn't interfere with your business, does it, Martin?
No, on the slide. None of our clients could give two hoots whether we're a member of Build UK. They're interested in what we do, and if Mark or either of the Marks have got a good idea, or someone that's in the Build UK has got a good idea, and we think it fits us, we'll steal with pride. And if we don't think it fits us, we won't. We'll leave it. So that's the
steal with pride. I like that.
Yeah, plagiarism, is that the proper word? Steal with pride. We don't really steal because we send it to each other. So it's not really stealing.
You draw inspiration from, don't you? That's what we call it.
Yeah, that's the one. I must remember that next time I'm talking to Mark and go, yeah, I'm drawing inspiration.
Martin, you inspire me every day.
Oh Jesus! Calm down.
So based on what you've said there, is there anybody else? So we've got three successful important players. Is there anybody else we should widen it to? Do we think once we're ready, or is this group sufficient to be able to take this proposition now? Is that...
I had a chat with Lindham Group yesterday, and although I said that we were kind of ready, we were set with this particular group, they were very keen to get involved in any way they could. So they're a smaller organisation, but they have a lot of in-house talent and things, so they don't rely on subcontractors.
That's Freddie. Was that Freddie Chambers?
Yeah, and his brother. So
yeah, Freddie. So yeah, I don't know if you met them guys. They're quite entrepreneurial, but I don't know what size are they. A couple of hundred, maybe
600 roughly. So
600, right?
But they'd be able to test stuff with their own staff really easily.
That would be the trouble for me. I don't have any staff. We're a complete management organisation, so anything that's directly, I would have to engage with the supply chain, which obviously we would do, but the feedback loop is always difficult. Yeah. So if there was an organisation in this group that did more self-delivery, we would probably get a better route of confirmation back.
That's an interesting point.
Supply chain.
Now, I get that because the supply chain adds another layer of complexity, doesn't it? That's your point, and I get that.
Yeah.
So.
And that's one of our big challenges. But at the same time, and I do wonder if maybe having a slightly it's really difficult as a tier one sometimes to put yourself in the shoes of maybe a tier 2 or tier 3, because if I want to spend money within reason, I just get on with it. Whereas if they want to spend money, they've got to go and ask the boss because it's actually taken out of his pocket to a certain extent.
I think if you get Freddie on, if you get Freddie on the team though, he's part of the ownership structure.
Yeah. It's all family there, isn't it? Because well, him and his brother were both very keen. So
yeah,
I mean, I think they jump at the chance to. And as I say, they were well aware, obviously, that the likes of Morgan Stanley and Wilmots were on the call, and they did say, well, yeah, that's great, but we operate quite differently. So maybe that other perspective, as Martin said, is a good idea as well.
Yeah. They would be the end users to this anyway. The contractors are the ones who are going to end up using this system. Lindens, from experience of them, they will drive something through. Just whether or not you want to just focus on a scaffolding company, and maybe you want to look at someone else as well, so you're not just focusing on that one work stream. Because I know what Lindens are like, they will follow something through and it'll come out pretty good. But making sure we get sort of the more rough and ready side of the business, the supply chain as well.
So okay, that's a good point that Jackson's made there. So is there a supply chain member that you all use? Because again, if there's somebody that you all use, and I'm thinking, I mean, you all use people like NG Bailey, but I wasn't thinking necessarily M&E. I was thinking, I mean, Jackson's point there is if you go down to the real rough and ready, then it.
What about a tarmacking contractor? So as part of my charitable works, I have Spade Oaks. Anyone done in? Most of you must use Spade Oaks because they're now I've got quite a good working relationship with their head of safety, and Spade Oaks are, even though they're all self-delivery, they are quite keen to get involved with stuff, and because they get the benefit of linking it to tier ones, so that's good for them because they can, and bless Jeff, he does come at things completely different to the way we do sometimes, because he's the guy at the ground going, no, I've got to get blokes in a van and get them to there in the snow and get that tarmac down kind of approach. So they potentially, I could speak to Spade Oak, which are probably to most of us a tier 2 or 3.
Okay.
But they're pretty supportive of this kind of stuff. My experience of them. Mark, your thoughts?
Yeah. So we use them. We use them sporadically, but we've got a relationship with Spade Oak.
And when are they groundworks contractor, Martin, or just?
Surfacing mainly. They're tarmacking gang. So we probably all use them at a point because we've used them all to put paths down and playgrounds in schools. But they're not on site much. They're jobs, and obviously they do highways works, but they don't do. I don't think they do like safer highways. They do like local authority highways. I saw something they posted on LinkedIn yesterday, and it looked like they've done a lane diversion, but it certainly wasn't safe for highways. It's not motorway grade.
So it's like in paths and towns and what have you.
Yeah. I guess they're probably working for councils.
Yeah,
they're probably working for councils, but I know they self-deliver. They're a self-delivery organisation.
Yeah, I think your point is the self-delivery one is useful to have because we're going to get more from that, aren't we?
Well, I hope so, because they'll be able to give us direct feedback and go, no, that doesn't work for my guys because they won't do that.
Yeah, they have different challenges, don't they, to us?
Yeah. One of the challenges we've found of late is getting people to download apps onto their phones to use access control, because they're just going, no, I don't want an app on my phone. You're trying to track me, and we're going, no, we're not. It's completely GDPR compliant. But that is one of the challenges we've got with data and people is that it's like, no, they won't download the NHS app. They won't download our M-Site app because they just won't do it. And we're not in a position to force them to do it. So that's something we need to think about.
Yeah, my view on that is if you go back to 1989, Martin, no, you didn't have to wear a hard hat, and now you wouldn't go on a building site now. If somebody said put your hard hat and your PP on, you wouldn't think twice about doing it. You wouldn't say it's none of your business. People just wouldn't do that. I think you're right. We have to go through a journey. I think this whole human, this sort of imposition of our sort of freedoms and all that, I think is, he could, if we're not careful, it could backfire, the whole GDPR piece. But I do think there will be a point where being safe in the work environment will become a legal requirement. And it's a bit like it's a little bit like mood beams. We've got most of them deployed now, but there's one organisation who's saying, well, if we don't want to track anybody, we don't want to, nobody wants to actually sign up to, nobody wants their data, and then the idea then is, well, but if you find out somebody's not very well or not happy or is struggling, how do you deal with it? Well, we can't. Well, it's like there comes a point, doesn't it, where you have to press that I confirm box in order to get looked after by your employer.
No, I agree. It's just a challenge. It's something that it's and I noticed Mr. French was smirking when I said it because he's obviously suffering the same thing.
No, I get, Martin. I get it. I get it. I mean, is it younger people, or is it an age thing? Are younger
complete
people
mix. I find it a complete mix, and
Okay.
people that more mature people that do a right to erasure complaint issue on GDPR, which is the legal right to be forgotten, which is a random thing that you have to do, and that's probably something I deal with 3 times a week at the moment. So
I thought Erasure was an 80s synth band.
Yeah, maybe that's what it is. They all think that we're going to get them some free tickets when the world comes back to normality.
Okay, that'll be a few years. Yeah.
When you talk to these people and ask them if they'd buy anything on their phone, they all go online and buy stuff, so they can actually use it, and they don't realise how the big data how much big data they create just by logging onto something and buying something. And you say, do you get bombarded with adverts? Oh yeah, well that's the reason why. So
I think you're
prepared to use it for their own means. They don't really...
That's a really valid point Mark's made there. And I'm wondering whether there's a comms point here, because the point is we want you to sign up to it in the construction industry so we can provide a safer environment for you. You're already signing up to everything. Every time you buy something off Amazon, you're signing up to X, left, right, and Hollywood.
Absolutely.
And the world's tracking you. But all we're trying to do is keep you safe. So how is it a comms issue?
But I think it's even more than that, because it's the responsibility of a principal contractor to make sure everyone's safe on site. So if that's how they're doing it, then that's how they're doing it. You want to know where people are, where you're working. So I can't see there being too much kickback from it. There will be, but really they haven't got a leg to stand on, because they're signing up to every other health and safety law on site. So why aren't they signing up to this one?
Well, but Charlie, just for everybody else's knowledge, we are deploying Moodbeam internally inside our businesses, and we've had a few people say, "No, I'm not signing up to it."
Yeah, we've
had a few of our staff, and that's we obviously don't use subcontractors; we're self-delivery in terminology. But I do get it, but I'm not so sure the law is going to change yet. But
no,
in 20 years' time, there will be a mandatory requirement, because you'll have to have biometrics, you'll have to have all this just to be able to go to work, because that's the way the world's going to go.
It's a matter of time, because you're not going to see our new building without getting kitted up with your PPE, are you? You're just not allowed on site.
So does this not form part of the trial, Gerard? Does this not, when we're sitting together and developing this product, is it worth now speaking to the industry tier 1s, 2s, contractors on what they want, why they would be against it, and what we need to do to to assure them?
So when you say that, Mark, you're talking about the general principle of data sharing, you mean?
Yeah, well, actually, what we're trying to do as well.
Okay. So I think you're right then. So so we're probably, now we've got this new direction. Once Charlie and John and everybody have got themselves together 2 or 3 weeks time, probably 3 weeks time, have a session with you guys. And once we've got something, we can then create a visual of what we're doing, Mark. Okay, bit of smoke and mirrors. And I think at that point, we should work on that comms piece. And there's no reason why we can't then have a seminar or a webinar. We do something in Pagabo every 2 weeks called pubs, which is, you know, it's not, we don't go to the pub. It's a Pagabo update for our suppliers. So lots of your guys will be on this, but obviously not you, but your, you know, framework directors and managers and what have you. So there's no reason why we couldn't do a future of construction initiative and say, this is the piece that we've been working. So we can do 2 things, actually. We can launch the qualifications because we'll have been through the beta testing on that, Charlie. Yeah.
Yeah.
March. Yeah. So we've got 22 people going through the quals at the moment. So we've got that done. And then we can actually present this particular project, Mark. So we can do a bit of a future of construction update and invite our ecosystem. And I don't have an issue of inviting the wider ecosystem, even if they're not a Pagabo. So people like Balfour Beatty are not on our framework, so we can get them involved. We're also, because we're looking at a civils and a groundworks. So there's some suppliers in there which are not you guys. I mean, you might have divisions that do that, but there are also, there's a wider ecosystem. So I think that's Charlie. I think we should make a note of that, because I think we can give everybody an update on TFOC.
Well, I do pubs every month anyway, Gerald.
Yeah, but I think we should maybe just do a TFOC only event.
Okay.
Because the people who turn up to pubs are just the commercial people. You know, they're coming along just to see what's going on commercially, aren't they? So,
yeah.
And to be fair, Mark and Martin, I don't think you won't have attended any of our pub sessions, will you guys? No, okay. Yeah, because they are directed mainly at commercial people, to be fair, so that's fine. But I think you know, it feels to me like we should maybe invite Lindums, possibly this tarmacking company, if you're in agreement. Let's get them on it. Let's have a conversation with them, and then in probably, you know, April, end of April, we can maybe do a presentation and a webinar of the full future construction update and address these particular points. Because if Mark's calculations are right, if we can get the people on there, we will at least get 1/3 of the industry on the call. And then if people like it or help us direct it, then again, following Mark's point, adoption will be easier.
There's a few things, aren't there? Just in the data bit of things is probably important one to cover, because data will mean different things in different ways. So there are some types of data where it's, you know, Jarrett, your example about using Wellbeing. Sometimes you might want to know, actually, this specific person is having a very bad time and therefore it needs to be personalized. Other types of data, you might just want to know, actually, why is this construction site, you know, happier than this one, or why is this one? So that's going to be anonymized stuff. So it's probably useful kind of starting that discussion with people, saying that we should understand how the data is being used. The other part, which was what you're saying, Martin, about people downloading apps, that's not for that reason, which is great insight from you, but that's why we've been thinking about different ways of distributing kind of the pass cards and things to people. So the benefit of the approach that we've got at the moment is, if you look in your Apple Wallet at the moment, you'll see all sorts of different cards and ones that are there. The benefit of that approach is that you don't need to download an app. So, you know, apps can be, you know, in any industry, whether or not that's to do with the kind of data, it's another thing to do. It's another barrier. Whereas actually, if it's easy for us to distribute these passes in exactly the same way that you do for flights or for cinema tickets, you don't need to download an app. You can do it with text, you can do it with email. That's the kind of first step in on that journey to kind of say, well, maybe we have an app in the future, but maybe we can do everything we need to do without an app. We've got a new building just being built here. I went to kind of have a look at the access control systems that are used to doing it. I pointed my phone at it, and my phone opened, you know, my phone registered on the system, and it could open the door. So you're thinking, you know, there's a whole load of other stuff that we can do as part of this that doesn't need to involve downloading an app, and gets rid of some of those barriers.
Just as a separate point, John, are you involved in the eyesight sessions with Olivia and JM then? John
no, I'm not.
Probably. I mean, we have a session at 3 o'clock, don't we? Anyway, but I think you probably want to get yourself involved in that then.
Love to, yeah.
Because I know you were involved in a session with Olivia last week, and some of your ideas and knowledge I think she wants to use anyway.
Brilliant.
In her design. So you maybe should pick up with that. You might not be able to make this afternoon session.
Yeah, I can't. Yeah, I'll drop her a note. So,
Yeah.
Sorry, I'm kind of organising that, John. So I'll put you in.
Yeah.
Perfect. Yeah, great.
But I think Mark M's point is quite valid. If we start to talk to the industry more, we can address the GDPR. We can tell people what we're doing. We're not trying to own this in the sense of owning it. We want to try and make it open because it's about improving the sector, and it could probably help us address the adoption piece generally and get around the likes of Build UK, etc. Which I think the more I talk to or see these people, I think they're barriers to improvement rather than anything.
When we were talking about all of this, the word that came into my head was convenience, because the reason I use Amazon on my phone to do it is because it's easy and I can order something in 2 seconds. I don't want to download an app for everything. And for me, when we're selling this to operatives, I think the GDPR is one of their concerns. But I think once there's a product there and they can see it makes the job easier for them, because that's what they want. I've got to do a risk assessment at the start of the day. Look, I press 4 buttons on my phone, it's done. I'm going to use that app every single day because I know it takes all the paperwork away from me. So it's that convenience against benefit sort of thing for me. How do we make it easy for them and give them a benefit back at the ground level so that then they want to use this app or system or whatever?
Totally agree.
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah, and I think Jackson's a great example of that. I mean, because he's young, so I'm not saying old people aren't digitally aware and native. I'm not trying to say that. Hey, I had my jab on Saturday, so I must be old, guys. So there you go. So I might even be older than you guys, albeit they got me to the front of the queue because I'm type 2 diabetic. That's why I'm there, guys. I'm not 65. Just before you start thinking I am.
I'm looking at July for mine.
Well, there you go. So
July 2022, probably.
Yeah.
I think every other 50 will have it by the 15th of April, won't they? I mean, that's the plan. The sort of thing. But anyway, the point I was trying to make was Jackson's generation. The young people work here. They whenever they want to do anything, first thing they pick up is that. Bang, talk to the mates, do things, and I think if we can make it that way, and I get that we don't want a complicated app. We want to do things, we've already worked out. I was trying to do a financial model of how we fund £50 million worth of hardware devices, and when you try and do that, that's quite a tough gig. That so I think this better idea now. We're now thinking is a much better approach. So okay.
Brilliant.
All right, so couple of things then. One, we're happy about introducing or inviting Lindums. Is everybody happy with that?
Yep.
Yeah. Okay. So we'll get Freddie involved then, Charlie.
Yeah.
He's a good guy, Freddie. And you've all said very nice things about Lindum, which I think is really good actually. So that's good. And then on the tarmac, I didn't quite get the spelling of the tarmac.
Spade Oak.
Spade Oak.
Yeah, all one word. Do you want me to do an introductory email to Jeff? Yeah, I'll do Jeff, Charlie, and yourself, Gerard,
Yes,
and then you can talk to them directly then, and if they're interested, that's up to them then, isn't it? I'll do an email now.
Yeah.
Introductory email now.
And I'm also, how do you feel about NG Bailey, by the way?
Professionally or?
Oh, right. Okay.
I'm in the same place.
That's a loaded question if I've ever heard it.
I think pull the plaster off there of a mouth.
I think they're a fantastic company. That's the company stance, and that's what I'm saying.
Yeah.
I have no feelings.
Yeah, right. I'll tell you what, I won't bother talking to NG Bailey then, guys. I think that's probably what the direction of travel I would get from that discussion. Okay, that's look. I'm happy just to stick with Lindums and Spade Oak, and then I think, in fact, going back to what I said earlier, I don't want the group to be too wide anyway.
No.
Sorry, Mark.
If the guys at Linden need any help,
yeah.
If the guys at Linden need any help, they're pretty local to me. So if you want to use me to meet up with them at any time, I can do.
Yeah. Okay. All right. So the actions are speak to Freddie. We'll do an invitation from Martin to Spade Oak. We'll try and we'll get you guys to look at some of the work we're doing on this MVP stroke fast prototype, just to get the direction of travel and look at the way the screens are operating and get your customer journeys. And then from that, we're then in a position to do a presentation. Say, look, this is our direction of travel, Mr. Industry, and we get some people together. Hopefully, probably the end of April. So that's something, Charlie, we need to think about. Maybe end of April, beginning of May.
Yep.
And looking at a future construction initiative with two things: quals and health and safety. Our two groups, and we might try and do a mixture. If people are up for it, we might try and do a mixture of face-to-face and Zoom.
Yep.
Because by then we, I mean, everybody's pretty, stir crazy now, aren't they? I think, but you guys have got probably different policies to us. I don't know, but yeah, but certainly by May, I would have thought we should be able to do that. So, and I think the future is going to be a combination of face-to-face and Zoom. I think that's how we're going to end up doing business.
Great.
So, yeah. Okay. All right. Shall we take that as the actions? And then if Martin and Mark could just fill their spreadsheets in, if you don't mind.
Yeah, they'll be done this week.
and that's it really. So so next session then. So Charlie, do you want to get the diary up? And maybe let's put one in for this review with. So we'll work on the assumption that you've been through everything with the eyesight team. Is it for the current now? So let's just get a date in the diary. Let's get 2 dates in the diary. Let's try and get, because I'd like everybody on this call to be available for the big TFOC one. I don't think anybody's going on any holidays anytime soon, are they? So, let's get 2 dates in. Charlie?
Yeah. So a month from now is Tuesday, 23rd.
23rd. And that'll be enough time for us to have done the work on the MVP and what have you, won't it?
Yeah, so John Martin's told me sort of 2 weeks for the fast prototyping and 2 weeks for user stories. So I think that we'll be in a good place by then, I think. Okay,
and if you need to speak to anybody on this call, I'm sure they're all happy for you to have individual one-to-ones with them, Charlie, if you need to.
Yeah, so I'm going to be thinking about some user stories and things. So I'll probably be sending some stuff out. So if you guys could give it a once over and any comments and stuff and things. So that might happen, once or twice in between the next meetings. Yeah. That'd be handy for everyone.
Yeah. So, sorry, the 23rd. Can we do that in the morning?
Yeah, that's fine. We've got an ISO audit on that day. Would you believe? So I won't be.
Good reason for you to have been a meeting then.
Yeah. Well, we're going for ISO. I don't know, about 3 of them, 9,000 and 27,000 and 44,000 or something. No. Anyway, I'm not involved in that session. It just happens in my diary.
So we want the same sort of time then?
Yeah, if that's okay. Yeah, I mean, Mark Emma said morning, hasn't he? So
yeah,
that's fine. And then let's have a look at. Let's get a bit of a tentative date in, Charlie, and we can work around this. So. Does anybody know when half terms are at the end of April, Easter, or anything, or May, or whenever it is?
So Easter half term is
April.
End of. Well, my lot are off the last week of March, 29th through to the first week of April, because you got the Easter bank holiday over that weekend. So there'll be quite a lot of people. I imagine there will be some people taking time off over that period.
Yes. I'm sort of thinking, when I looked at that timetable last night, 12th of May was the date, wasn't it?
17th.
17th. That's a Monday.
The May half term is usually the last week in May, isn't it?
Yeah, so there's a bank holiday on the 31st, so it's usually the week before, isn't it, the 24th?
Yeah.
So I'm just wondering for a TFOC day, the 19th or the 20th of May, because I want to try and see if we can blend something together and face-to-face as well, Mark.
Can't do the 19th. I can do the 20th, but I will need to drop out if we do face to face, I've got a call into a project managers forum that day, which is 40 minutes out of the whole day, so there's no drama.
How's
the 20th works?
Yeah, I can do the 20th.
Mr. French?
Yeah, 20 is good for me.
So it's a Thursday as well, so that's quite a, you know, so just if we just sort of blank that out for the time being, I'll work with Charlie on a bit of a TFOC initiative around that date, Charlie.
Yeah.
Because our new building should be open by then as well.
Well, you're in luck with that date, Gerard, because I was getting married on the Friday, but not anymore. So
yeah, you've been saved then.
Did she find out about you, did she, Charlie?
I presume you're waiting for big weddings. Is it like big weddings after the 21st of June? Is that what they're saying?
Yeah. So pushed back to September now. But yeah, that was a bit of frantic rearranging last night. But
well, there you go. So you can tell your missus that you've rearranged it so you can have a TFOC meeting on the Thursday.
Exactly. She'll be very understanding about it.
Oh, sure she would be. Yeah, bloody hell.
Is the venue still available, Charlie? Because we can use we use that.
Yeah, there's a nice walled garden. There's pretty nice surroundings. We can run around with our phones, work in eyesight. So. Yeah,
exactly. So, okay, all right. So let's work. So Charlie, we'll work on that offline actually and do a bit of a TFOC piece on that because that could be quite useful. So okay, all right. Okay, good. Any other business? Anybody?
Get that sheet back to you by the end of the week.
Yeah, yes, please, Mark, if you can. Yeah, because I think we're now we've actually done quite a bit of working around it, but I think now, as it happens, now we've got John Martin joining us. I think all of a sudden we can now accelerate quite a lot of this internally, so it keeps the cost down as well. It keeps the cost well. It's just part of our business at the moment, so that's fine. Okay. All right. Good. That's it, really.
Okay.
So I'm seeing you later, JC.
Yep.
And I've got the action to send out this document as Mr. Mortel asked me to, once I've done it, because I think that's it. Okay, good.
And I've emailed Jeff at Spadoak.
Yeah, I've seen that. I've got that copy. Thanks.
Okay,
Martin.
great.
Good. All right, guys. Well, look after yourselves. Make sure, and get your vaccines unless you're an anti-vaccine. That doesn't work. I'll tell you that. But
I think Mark Mortel's in the tier 4, aren't you, Mark? Over 60s or 70s.
Yeah, right. Vulnerable. I'm in that group.
Hey, I tell you, we're all vulnerable, aren't we? We're vulnerable of not enjoying ourselves at the moment.
All right, guys. Take care.
Good luck.
Cheers.
Look after yourselves. Take care. Bye-bye. Bye-bye. Charlie, do you want to stay on, Charlie?
Yep, can do.
Thank you all. Cheers.
Cheers, Jackson. Cheers, Mark.